I'm Casey Flowers, and today I'm going to be discussing the upcoming full moon and lunar eclipse. This will be on the evening of July 4th, 2020, at least here in the US. So before we get into the astrology, let's cover some of the astronomical facts about what's going on. By definition, a full moon happens when the sun and the moon are opposite of each other, and that way the sun can actually shine its light fully on the moon. An eclipse is when the Earth slightly or fully blocks the light of the sun from reaching the moon. So this month, it's going to be a penumbral lunar eclipse, which I think is one of my new favorite words. Penumbra. 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 I love it. So what a penumbra is it's the diffuse outer shadow of the Earth, rather than the Earth itself. This means that a penumbral eclipse is actually very hard to see, simply because the moon just gets a little bit darker and then a little bit brighter during the duration of it. So it's not going to be as much of a spectacle as a partial solar eclipse where you can see the full moon turn into a little toenail and then turn into a full moon again. Or a total eclipse where you see it coming in and then at the height it turns into that beautiful red moon. No, this one's not going to be exactly as dramatic as that, but it is still an eclipse. So however visible that it may be, it will be visible in parts of the world such as all of South America and parts of Africa, North America, and Europe. But again, it will be very slight. Lastly, the duration of this eclipse is going to last approximately 2 hours and 45 minutes, with the height of it being at 12:44 New York time or 4:44 Universal time, because the universe knew we needed an angel number these days. So that's what's happening astronomically, but let's get into what's happening astrologically, because that's the logical thing to do. That was a dumb joke, I'm sorry. So this month, the full moon is happening when the sun is at 13 degrees and 38 minutes Cancer, which puts the moon at 13 degrees and 38 minutes in Capricorn. So to streamline things, I reduce all of the orbs by 75% as to only look at the most important things to pay attention to. There are plenty of other things that you can look into regarding this chart. I'm only focusing on the orbs that are at 75% of whatever astro.com decrees good. Today, we will be looking at 4 aspects made to the sun and the moon. Number 1, which is a given, is that the sun is opposite the moon, the sun being in Cancer and the moon being in Capricorn. So the sun is your conscious identity, or some might even call it your ego, whereas the moon represents your subconscious identity, like your emotions. One time I heard somebody say that the sun is the way that you act and the moon is the way that you react. And I think that's a really beautiful way of summing it up, though of course it's a little bit reductive. So every full moon is a great time for self-reflection. Think of it this way, the sun is shining its light on the moon so that way we can see it more brightly. This happens on a physical level, but it also happens on a metaphysical one as well. It's an as above, so below kind of thing. The way that we see the sun and the moon in astrology basically means that the sun in a full moon is lighting up the moon so that way we can see our subconscious desires more clearly. In a way, this kind of reveals what was in the dark in terms of our emotions, which is also why people tend to say that people act crazy during the full moon. Maybe they're not acting crazy, maybe they're just showing their true self. So new moons are great at sowing the seeds that you want to grow, but full moons are great to see how they're actually growing and to decide if that's something you want to continue growing in the future. A full moon kind of reveals what your next intentions should be for the next new moon. So although this is a full moon and it's great for self-reflection, remember that it is an eclipse. And like I said in my last video, eclipses are notorious for shaking things up and introducing new events when you weren't expecting them. This eclipse will end eclipse season this year. So just look at the last month to see what I mean. Have things come up that you weren't expecting? Yeah, duh. Of course they have. In like literally every corner of human existence. So hopefully I'm giving you some sort of peace of mind that eclipse season is at least coming to an end. Number 2 is that the moon is not only opposite the sun, but it's also opposite Mercury. The moon, again, being in Capricorn and Mercury being in Cancer. So like I said, moon has to do with subconscious, emotions, etc., where Mercury has to do with logic, communication, and intellect. So that could potentially mean that your heart, the moon, might be in conflict with your mind, Mercury. So what you think that you need might not really be what you need. Or maybe I should say that your mind is having a hard time coming to terms with what it is that your heart needs. This is amplified by the Cancer-Capricorn axis, again, because Cancer is so emotional. So you might be communicating in a way that is overly emotional to the situation at hand, or you might also be overly protective of your own feelings. This is a theme that came up in my last video, and it's coming up again. Number 3 is that Moon is trining Uranus. And yes, I say Uranus, but I might occasionally say Uranus just to make a joke. So let's talk Uranus for a second. Sorry about that one. All right, I told you. Okay, so the energy of Uranus is the energy in the universe that shakes things up. On an archetypal level, if you removed Uranus from the rest of the solar system, you would lose out on the random events in life that often lead us to feeling like they are coincidences or synchronicities or even fate. The moon trining Uranus energizes people and makes them want to go and experience new and exciting things in the world. Good thing we're in the middle of a pandemic. We'll get back to this in a second. And number 4, the sun is sextiling Uranus and trining Neptune in Pisces. So again, this sun sextiling Uranus, this planet of eccentricity, of getting out there and doing things, new things at that, is given yet another boost of energy from the sun sextiling it. So not only is it going to be a subconscious thing of us wanting to go out there and try something new, but it could also potentially be bold and ego-driven now. This could be perceived as the desire to make your own destiny, so to speak, by going out and putting yourself in situations so that way you can attract what it is that you're looking for. However, the sun trining Neptune, the planet of dreams and illusions, points to a potential naivete or even delusion about the reason that you're going out in the first place and the real purposes of these actions. We might feel like we are immune to negative consequences, or even if we do get those consequences, that it won't matter. As you might imagine, this could lead to some potentially reckless behavior, especially given the current climate of the world. All while you're under the impression that you're doing it for the right reasons, whatever that means. So that's the astrology. What's the takeaway here? In my opinion, talking about astrology transits without acknowledging the current state of the world is stupid. And for the sake of talking about them, please keep in mind that I'm not only an American citizen, but I also have a degree in American studies, so I often focus on American issues and politics. And when I do focus on world events, I see it through an American lens. I try not to, but it is what it is. So all that being said, all of these aspects are happening on Independence Day in the US. This is a day of freedom, independence, patriotism. We're used to going to barbecues and lighting fireworks and drinking and hanging out with people, but we currently have a worldwide pandemic happening, if you didn't know. In fact, some experts have even cited July 4th as being a particularly pivotal day in how COVID-19 may spread further in our country. The Uranus involvement with the full moon is the perfect astrological condition for people to feel justified with meeting in the groups that they have been deprived of since March. If you've watched this video, I strongly urge you to plan ahead. Come up with something new and exciting for you to do that maybe doesn't put you in as much harm's way as going to a large gathering or something else of that nature, if only just to reduce your risk. That being said, obviously coronavirus is a controversial issue right now, even though 120,000 have died in 4 months. So I know that you're gonna do whatever you're gonna do anyway. Just know that this is astrologically supported and explainable. And that will just amplify the feelings of freedom, independence, and patriotism that already come from the holiday. Ultimately, I feel like I can't give the advice to not go out and try something new. So if you do, just please be safe. And if you don't get overly annoyed with the people who do. It is what it is, and what will happen will happen. Just know that this is bigger than what's going on with the American holiday, and that it is supported by the astrology. And know that this is the end of the eclipse season, but we still aren't out of the woods yet. So I hope you liked this video. Let me know if you did. I've been releasing new videos every week on my Facebook page, Sacred Flowers, and also on YouTube at Casey Flowers. So be sure to follow me on both of those to see what's coming next. I'll see you next week. Bye!